Okay, so I just realized now that in my last video I forgot to show something pretty cool. I came across this video of what looks like a Crash Bandicoot cartoon. Actually, these are unused cutscenes from the original game that would have been used for the beginning and the ending. There's nothing much to them, but it really makes me want a Crash Bandicoot TV show. But first we gotta get that new game coming out, right? Sony/Naughty Dog, you still working on that? You better have something at E3. Or maybe you already have it. This is coming out on the same day as E3, so I'm not sure what you're gonna do, but hopefully there you got something there. Yeah, let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Crash Bandicoot Mini Marathon. So, last time we took a look at the original Crash Bandicoot for the PlayStation, and overall, it was pretty solid, but doesn't really hold up today. So this time, we're taking a look at its sequel, Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back. And if you're wondering why the cover doesn't match the case, that's because it didn't come with a cover when I bought it off eBay. So I had to print out my own, and this is the best quality image I can find. So, but you don't want to hear about that. You want to hear about the game that I just put away. Here it is. So let's get to that. Shall we?
Crash Bandicoot 2 was released on November 5th, 1997, just a little over a year after the first game. From the sound of that, you'd be quick to assume that Naughty Dog just rushed it out to cash in on their little Bandicoot's newfound popularity. But no. This is Naughty Dog we're talking about. They put their all into this game in the 13 months it took to make. Andy Gavin himself created a new engine that could handle more frames of animation and a higher polygon count. And some changes to the level design were even made by Dan Array, the lead designer of Gex Enter the Gecko. So clearly a lot of effort went into the game, but did it all make the game better?
Yes. I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. This is a great game. For the most part, but let's not jump to conclusions so soon.
Crash Bandicoot 2 takes place immediately after the events of the first game. Cortex is defeated and Crash lands somewhere on the Wumpa Islands. But upon landing, he discovers a pink crystal that gives him some sort of possibly evil idea. About a year later, he and his new assistant, Engine, plan on using these crystals to power a new super weapon called the Cortex Vortex. But the remaining 25 crystals are still missing, and they don't have any minions left to find them. So what do? Get Crash to do it, of course. He's dumb enough to do whatever anybody tells him to do. I can relate. Oh, and he has a sister now. Her name is Coco. She exists because I guess Tawna was found to be too sexy for kids to comprehend. When Crash goes off to find Coco a new laptop battery in the middle of the jungle, obviously the best place to look for them, he's taken to a strange place where a projection of Cortex tells him that he needs to collect the crystals, but he's pretty vague at explaining why to him. Thankfully, Crash is kinda dumb, so it doesn't really matter to him.
So, once again, the story is incredibly minuscule. Wow, what a fancy word. But, when it comes to gameplay, Crash Bandicoot 2 more than delivers. Like, it really delivers. Like, really.
Immediately, you'll notice the first big change from the first Crash game. Crash 1 utilized an overworld map, much like Donkey Kong Country. Crash 2 has something called warp rooms. There are 5 warp rooms altogether, and each one has 5 different levels for you to access by just walking into that level's portal. It's in these warp rooms where you can also save your progress whenever you want. Thank goodness! I'm gonna call myself... Gameplay-wise, almost everything has been greatly improved upon. Crash doesn't feel as heavy or slippery as he did in the first game, and now you can control him using an analog stick. If you're playing a later version of the game, that is. Again, it's nothing to write home about because there are sections that quite clearly weren't designed with analog control in mind. Crash can still spin and jump on enemies like before, but he's also got a few new moves to mess with. The first one being the slide. It's really only needed for enemies you can't spin into or jump on to kill, as well as tighter spaces that you can easily crawl through. I like the slide a lot, but the belly flop is funnier to look at. You have to use it to break these new steel crates, but let me tell you, there's something oddly satisfying about body slamming into a whole bunch of boxes at once. Oh yeah! Sometimes I even found myself appreciating the more subtle changes. The stats on the top of the screen show you how many boxes you've broken, which I find very helpful. The checkpoint box actually saves all the boxes you broke before breaking the box this time, which is amazing and makes getting the box gem a whole lot easier, for the most part, but I'll get to that later. The bonus room doesn't require Tana emblems to get to anymore. All you gotta do is fall through these question mark spaces and there you go. New level themes have also been added to make the game a little more diverse in terms of locations. There are sewer levels which come with water that can sometimes be bad and other times not be bad. There are snow levels that have pretty much the worst ice physics in any video game ever, and if you've seen my DuckTales video, you'll know how much I don't like ice physics in video games. But some levels do have me riding a polar bear. Oops. He's holding onto the polar bear as he's going up into the heavens. It's like, if I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. There are levels that introduce some new gameplay mechanics, like the waveboarding, which is awesome. There are the temple levels, which have statues that breathe fire. Never fun. And then there's the jetpack stages. I really don't like these. I know there are people out there who love the jetpack stages, but when was the last time they actually played these levels? Because these controls are just plain awful. Instead of having Crash flying automatically and you needing to move him in different directions like an R-Wing from Star Fox, you have to fly him manually. And it's really confusing to handle. Pushing up makes you go down, and pushing down makes you go up. These are plane controls, not jetpack controls, and Crash feels really heavy in these stages. Acceleration is very sluggish, and moving left and right barely even works. I know we're in space and the gravity isn't the same as it is on Earth, but still, that's no excuse. These developers really should have played Pilot Wings.
Alright, so Crash Bandicoot 2 has a lot more going for it than the first game. Not taking the jetpack levels into consideration, almost everything else has been made so much better. Note that I said almost.
Above each level entrance is that level's name, along with these weird-looking marks. These are here to tell you whether or not you got the collectibles in that level. Gems are back from the first game, but now we're on a quest to collect all the pink crystals. On one hand, you won't like them because you have to get the crystal in each stage in order to get through the rest of the game, but on the other hand, you wouldn't mind them because they're incredibly easy to spot and obtain. The gems, on the other hand, are a bit more obnoxious to get than they were in the first game. You still won't be able to get the box gem in one level without getting a certain gem in another level like before, but this time there are things you have to do to get gems that you wouldn't even think of doing, like in the first level, Turtle Woods. How is anyone supposed to know not to break a single box in this area to get the hidden gem without some sort of guide? On top of that, some boxes are even located in areas that require you to find warp points in places that, again, you wouldn't be able to guess. Like the Staircase of Nitro boxes in the Bee Having level. These things, introduced in this game, are like TNT crates, but instead they kill you even just by walking into them. Ah! Sheesh, gave me a freaking heart attack! Then there's the death route. If you manage to avoid dying in a level before reaching a specific spot, a skull platform will appear that will take you to the death route, where more boxes await their inevitable destruction. Then you'll get taken back to the normal route, but if you missed any boxes on that path because you took the death route, you'll have to go back and break them. It's like the issue with the checkpoint box in the first game, but only more annoying. This really doesn't become more noticeable than in the level Cold Hard Crash. Haas on Twitter made it especially clear that I should be cautious when going through this place, but I didn't try breaking all the boxes in this level, so I can't properly explain what it's like. If you watch Some Call Me Johnny's review, he'll explain it better. I just wanted to give Haas a shout out.
I guess this is the part where I talk about the boss battles. Well, there's only one boss battle that I really want to talk about, and that's the final boss.
You know how I said I hated the jetpack levels? Well, you know what would be great? If we use this for the final boss. Yay! I'll give him credit for adding a little more spectacle to the Cortex fight, but boy, do I hate this boss. You have to fly into Cortex to hurt him, but there are all these meteors in the way, and at first I thought I had to spin into them to launch him at Cortex, but nope, they just slow you down. I got so frustrated with this boss that I had to get my brother Mike to do it for me, and you know what? He actually beat him! I don't know whether to feel grateful or embarrassed. So because I got all the crystals, Cortex is technically defeated, but because I didn't get all the gems, his super weapon is still intact. Brio has secretly been developing a laser that needs the power of the gems to destroy Cortex's machine, but wait, didn't the first game imply that he became a bartender? Why does he suddenly hate Cortex now? Was Cortex taking all the credit for Brio's inventions or something? Ah, forget it.
Boy, that was quite an experience. So, overall, what's my verdict on Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back? Well, I definitely enjoyed it more than the first game, but there's still one big issue that carries over from the first game, and that's the difficulty.
Crash Bandicoot 2 is really, really hard. Not just going for 100% completion, but even trying to play the game normally can be tough. Lots of moments where I got close to cracking my controller in half, lots of levels where my death count reached the double digits, issues with enemy placement in combination with very tight and precise platforming. In a way, the difficulty was boosted just a little too much. But you know what? Despite how frustrating the game got, I still enjoyed playing it. It's kind of like my love of Contra. In fact, it's pretty much exactly like my love of Contra. Contra is a very difficult game, but I don't let it ruin my enjoyment of the game because of how well designed it is. Crash Bandicoot 2 is on the same case. It's tough, but it's great fun. And once again, the music and the graphics are consistently great throughout. The character models are more defined and have better animations, and the backgrounds are much more varied and eye-catching. The music is a bit more catchy than what the first game had, but again, it works better on an atmospheric level. Still not a bad thing, however, because this soundtrack is awesome. And that's pretty much how I can describe Crash Bandicoot 2 as a whole. It's awesome. Sure, it has its moments that really aggravate me, but thanks to its great controls and a whole bunch of other things, it's definitely something I can recommend to anyone looking for something to add to their PlayStation collection, if they haven't done so already.
So even though the Crash Bandicoot formula is still a little rough around the edges, Naughty Dog finally found a winning formula with their little mascot. I don't know why I think that's really weird. So, if they can make a game that's better in almost every single way within a year, let's see what they can do in only 10 months. Next time, we're finishing the Crash Bandicoot Marathon with Crash Bandicoot Warped. Until then, this is Mark, aka Super Smash 3DS, bidding you all a polar bear splat. I love animal cruelty. Alright, see ya!